Good morning, all. I'd like to call to order the Kane County Finance and Budget Committee for Wednesday, April 24th. It's 9 a.m. We have a roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby here.
Lewis,
What's here?
Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Surges,
No, Surges won't be here.
Tepe,
Tepe here.
Leonard,
We're here.
Berman,
Berman's here.
and Pirog. See her online.
Remote attendance requests?
None.
None. Minutes from our meeting of March 27th, 2024.
Mr. Chair, I request unanimous consent for approval of minutes.
Any negative comments? Be submitted as approved, unanimous consent. Public comments. We have a number that are speaking on our agenda items. And I have a list, and I will call the first one, David Johnson. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Is this okay? Can you hear me fine?
Very good.
Okay, thank you. My name is David Johnson, and I would like to thank the Finance Committee members for allowing me to address the committee today and those in attendance. My comments today are regarding the proposal to implement a special county tax, retailer's occupation tax for public safety purposes. My family and I have lived in Kane County. We call it our home for 45 years. It's currently the 5th most populous county in the state with over 500,000 residents. Before I go on with my remarks on the resolution, I would like to reassure the members of the Finance Committee that not everyone believes in the simplistic comment, well, we have to balance our household family budget. Why can't the board do the same? There's so many things wrong with this comparison. Managing a household's budget or household's finances is not the same thing as managing the finances of the county. I think it's a very unrealistic analogy. I want the board and the Finance Committee to know that many of us in the community know and realize that it's not that simplistic. What we have to remember is Kane County provides a lot of vital services to our close-knit community of over 500,000 people, over 500 square miles. That is a big job, and I think it's being done very well. It takes a lot of people, currently over 1,300 strong in our community, brick and mortar facilities, planning, budgeting, on and on. And of course, you as the Finance Committee know this better than most. The professional staff which keep our committee or our community running are really the true blood of our county. They are what makes it tick. They deserve a living wage. They are one of us. They're our neighbors. We need to support them. Think about it. If we have 500 million people in our county and our budget is on the order of 250 million, it's $2 a year per person for all of the services that the county provides. I think that's a bargain. There are some, when facing a complex financial issue, their first reaction is to cut jobs, cut our jobs for our friends and our neighbors. Then you do that and you must cut vital services. That's not right. I think that's wrong. So I would like to thank you for what you do. Now back to the issue at hand. The county is facing a serious financial crisis, which has been in the making for years. Expenses have climbed, but revenues have not kept up with inflation. Property taxes have been kept flat for 14 years. I would like to see the board plan for the future. Create a revenue stream that can fund the near-term and future needs, put the county on a stable financial footing, and potentially bolster our county reserves. We as a community need to support our county. This would not only be supporting the county sheriff's office, state's attorney, court services, but all other vital public service departments. We should keep the public safety a priority. What happens if this is not addressed? The county will have to implement a draconian reduction in personnel. These cuts would result in a reduction of vital public services. The majority of these positions would come from public service department. Okay, thank you. Implementing a 1% sales tax that is spread out over the entire county with residents and non-residents alike will provide a significant boost to the county revenue stream, thus increasing the financial stability of the county. This is only a penny for every dollar spent. I think it's a small price to pay for keeping the county funded so they can serve our community. Bottom line, I think it's a very equitable solution. I look forward to seeing this referendum on the November ballot and voting yes. Thank you for your attention.
Frank Esposito.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I mentioned it at the board meeting when this subject of the sales tax increase came up, that I was not for an increase. It seems as though every time we turn around, we're trying to raise more taxes and more money. I've told you before, I had a business, and when I had a business, I had to go out and get sales. And in order to survive, if I needed a piece of equipment, I went out and I tried to sell even more of what I was able to do so that I get the money so that I could buy the new equipment. I think the county is doing a good job all over. If we are trying to raise more money for public safety, one would think maybe there's something that we're missing that we're not able to do, but I don't think that's the case. Now, the gentleman just talked about it's a small amount. It is just a penny if you do it that way. I noticed on this agenda, it's XX. So that 1% from the board meeting has been changed to XX. I guess you're going to decide that it's maybe something else. But I did a little research. I live in St. Charles. The sales tax rate for St. Charles totals 8.5%. My daughters live in Wheaton. The sales tax rate for Wheaton is 8%. Then I thought, well, what about the mall in Aurora? There's a lot of sales going on there. For Aurora, what I was able to determine, the sales rate is 8.25. So I'm a retired person living in St. Charles, and although it's a minuscule amount, I'm paying more in sales tax than Wheaton. It doesn't seem possible to me that that would be the case. Wheaton has more companies selling to everyone, okay, than I think Kane County does. Why drive the rate up, even if it's a small amount, to drive people to go to someplace else? So it's an election year. I think everybody that's running should be very careful of this. The average person is going to say it's a tax increase, not that it's 1%. It's a tax increase. And what are they going to do? They're going to respond by probably voting against the people running, even though maybe half of them would vote against this. I don't know. But I'm just saying, let's be careful. Let's be sure we really, really, really need this money, because at the moment, it doesn't look like we do. Thank you.
L. Betag.
Hi, I'm Michelle Betag. I'm just here to speak on a few things. The referendum, obviously, the costs of living, we keep going over the same topic and topic. People are struggling. The average person, the average family in Kane County, outside of Kane County is struggling. The businesses are laying off people. The people are having, highest credit card debt in history. Our economy is failing in a big way. The referendum is a way that we can raise taxes more, just like inflation, without saying we're raising taxes. We pay the highest taxes in the country here in Kane County. Out of almost 3,300 counties, we pay almost the highest amount in taxes. I suggest that every single board member takes a portion of this or the budget and reviews this with Kathleen and see where we can cut. Because unlike some citizens, people are tired of paying the highest taxes in the country. We are being overtaxed. And if it's fine for some people, that's fine. It's not fine for me. As Mr. Esposito mentioned, this is going to potentially be on the November ballot. I'm assuming by Cheryl Strathman bumping this back to this committee, the Democrats are realizing that Madam Chair might be on the chopping block for a referendum on November. Okay, fine. Keep it till the consolidated election. That's fine. We'll be back. We'll be watching and monitoring this closely. We do not need the money. Or here's another thought. Jack Cunningham, who received $2 million in dark funds, has money sitting over there in the account. Why doesn't he can use it as any way he wants. The machines that cost over $8 million and the maintenance on these machines every single year is hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain. How about he kick in that $2 million to help offset the cost of all of that? I know this is a great place to live. You guys do manage it in a great way. A lot of people do. We have a lot of employees that get paid higher than normal. We're looking at my company right now at eliminating employees, unfortunately, because the economy is so awful. So do I empathize with people that get laid off? Yes, it's horrible. I mean, same with business owners who are struggling to keep their door open. I feel bad for them. I guess my point of the thing is we do have reserve, cut the expenses. That's the biggest. Ask Jack Cunningham to take the dark money, which was just outlawed in Wisconsin, among other states outlawed for taking that dark Zuckerbucks money in other counties to kick in the money. Also, lastly, I would just like to ask for David Young's proclamation to protect Kane County citizens and their elections to be put on the full county board agenda. There are so many sanctuary agenda items that I can hit. I don't want to hit them all right now because I don't want to waste the time, but it's very clear that Madam Chair and her cheerleaders want to make this a sanctuary county, and the Kane County citizens are not okay with that. Lastly, my last statements are, if you earn it, they tax it. If you spend it, they tax it. If you save it, they tax it. If you invest it, they tax it. If you build it, they tax it. If you sell it, they tax it. If you live in it, they tax it. If you drive it, they tax it. If you eat it, they tax it. If you give it away, they tax it. When you die, they tax it. Then they waste the money. And that's where we're at right now. And now the Biden administration is talking about the wealth tax that they want to implement. This means that we can be taxed on any gain without even selling a property, without selling a stock. So we're in a slippery slope. And if people are fine with paying the highest taxes in the country in Kane County, that's fine. That's your opinion. But most taxpayers are not. They're struggling. And, the Democrats, no offense, some of the Republicans, obviously Jack Cunningham, and a lot of the people that are not fully educated on a lot of this stuff need to wake up. You're being used. You're being used to do the agenda. I'm getting phone calls every single day that illegal aliens are arriving here in Kane County. We're paying for them in the schools. We're paying for them with the medical. We're paying for housing. The Chicago Metro Agency is going to redistribute them over here in Kane County. And this is just the beginning. So I'm asking all of you, I would like the proclamation, Vern Tepe, to be put on the full board. I know you're against it, and all of you people that have got your marching orders, but I would like to see that to protect Kane County citizens. Thank you.
Davidson Bell.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Davidson Bell, and I've been a long-term resident of Geneva in King County for 28 years. I have a strong commitment to my community. As such, I wanted to bring forth a concern of mine regarding the security and safety of the management of our county's precious funds provided by the taxpayers of this community. In an article dated October 17th, 23, the King County Chronicle reported that First American Bank fired King County as a customer related to security concerns. The county received a letter from First American Bank dated August 24, 23. First American Bank expressed concerns that they had concerns for their county's banking activities and security. They required steps to be taken to address these concerns as they are required under federal law. To quote from the letter, account safety requires that both First American and the county adopt appropriate policies and practices with respect to the compliance obligations for the county's bank accounts. We respectfully require that the county implement the following initiatives in a manner that is acceptable to First American concerning these issues. Dedicated staff experienced with First American systems and security protocols, including CashTrack, First American's online cash management system. Assignment of staff to anticipate the county's cash flow needs and manage cash by the appropriate account, including appropriate alert system or establishment of an automated cash sweep system. Establishment of an automated cash accounting system with security protocols. Establishment of updated record keeping using, when appropriate, electronic records. Training of staff to contact First American bankers and staff to encourage exchange of information, security concerns, and report unusual activity. Training of staff related to appropriate account login procedures and password controls. Management of the county's accounts information related to data security and account protection requires diligence of the county and working with First American bankers and staff in that effort. Apparently, these concerns and recommendations were not enacted upon by the county. On October 6, 23, First American Bank requested that King County find another bank. Our new bank, Chase, now holds the King County accounts. Do we have any verification that concerns raised by First American have been addressed and enacted upon with our new bank? Can the county verify this? It is essential for the people of King County to have confidence that their hard-earned money paid in taxes is held in compliance with security best practices. Additionally, it is essential that we ensure that those managing our funds have checks and balances. We cannot have those people who are approving transfers of funds also be the ones doing the transfer of funds. That is a confounding element that is in direct violation to the security of our funds. I'm a nurse practitioner, not an accountant, so my experience with these issues is limited, but I have never heard of a bank firing a customer like King County before. I've never experienced that. Why has this board allowed this to happen without proper oversight? Are you not providing oversight to the treasurer's office? There are hundreds of millions of dollars that flow through these accounts. This is a significant amount of money, and it is the people's money, the citizens of King County. The treasurer reports to the finance committee for a reason. This committee and the King County Board has done nothing to ensure that our funds are protected. Why has the new bank not been brought before this committee to ensure this board that inadequacies enumerated by First American have been cured? What else is the treasurer's office hiding? Thank you.
The last of our speakers on the agenda items. We now have 3 minutes for those that are speaking on non-agenda items. I will call on Ellen Jo Young.
Hello, thank you for the work you do. I'm Ellen Young. We've lived in the county since '79, and I'm here to thank you for the purchase of the voting machines. I'm an election judge. I saw firsthand how fragile our equipment had become. It was no longer supported by the manufacturer. We had breakdowns even during elections, and these new machines are fabulous, and they help ensure Kane County's tradition of fair, free, safe elections. Your decision to purchase them with the help of a grant was fiscally responsible. And because of that timing, the county was able to train all of us election judges and was able to use the machines for the first time in a primary, which is generally far less attended, giving us a chance to become more skilled and to answer all questions. I was so pleased at how smooth the process was, how excellent the training is, and what a good job the county does with elections. And these new machines were a remarkably smart decision. So I'm here today to thank you for doing that and to tell you that my husband and I are retired. Nobody wants to spend more money than they have to, but this was an essential purchase and you did the right thing. Thank you.
Christine Fulton.
Good morning. I have a bit of a bad head cold, so bear with me, but it's a good topic. I've been a resident of St. Charles for 37 years, both myself and my husband. My topic is the governance of Airbnbs and VRBOs in King County. My neighbors and neighboring communities live near two different properties, both located across from Fearsing Creek Park and Fearsing Creek Fen up on Route 31, up on the hill overlooking the river. Lovely properties. But since these properties have become Airbnb VRBO, we've experienced loud parties, loud music, screeching tires, and very low-grade fireworks shows. The danger became last July when it wasn't just a low-grade fireworks show. It was a professional level, as in the kind that St. Charles does for 4th of July on the property, and it lasted over 15 minutes. Having our homes abutting these properties, the ashes, the embers falling down was a true, real fire threat to our homes, our roofs, our backyards, trees, bushes. It was not good. Videos were taken, sheriff was called, deputies came through. Complaints were filed, both with Airbnb, VRBO. The deputy did go over and tell them, knock off the fireworks. Well, it lasted 15 minutes. They had paid for very nice fireworks and it was done. But the problem becomes, is it really done? The issue before residents as well as this board is that we need to find a way to hold these owners accountable. Because if you go tell them to stop doing what you're doing, that's great. They check out the next morning, no harm, no foul. I've filed with Airbnb and VRBO and they just disavow it and go, well, our guests didn't do that. I said, I'll send you the video. That wasn't them. We don't even have guests there that night. It's a very frustrating circle. And as we're heading into the summer months, I think it's time we take a hard look at what's the best way to govern these owners. I have worked with Mark Vankerkopf and he's been wonderfully supportive, but I think there's a suggestion here for the board and I don't know how to do it, but with the board in partnership with the sheriff department is put together a public communication that outlines, hey, Christine, they're shooting the fireworks again. This is step one. You call the sheriff this number. 2, you get an incident report, which they need to track. 3, then you contact your district rep, Mark Vankerkopf, Van Kerkhoff. He's going to kill me. I mess up his name. And you get everything documented. That's the information they need to be able to put in an ordinance that says you are a property that we've had, and I don't know what the number should be, 10 violations, 5 violations, severity of violations. We pull your license. But right now, there's no penalty in place to pull the license. And so we have a bit of a free through all for parties. That's it. Thank you.
Ann Sanders.
Thank you, board, for all the work you do. I come to many meetings and you put a lot of time in. Paul Setz could not be here today, so ask someone to read the editorial from the Daily Herald on April 13th. The topic was Kane Board Chair Avoided Grandstanding. I am sure we are all thankful for, I'm reading the editorial right now. I am sure we are all thankful for Kane County Treasurer Lawson's March 28th letter to the editor explaining the definition of insinuate. I would expect nothing less of his arrogance. It would have been more appropriate for him to explain why the Kane County Board should have anything to say about immigration. My understanding of the county government is that immigration is not a county responsibility anywhere in the United States. Any vote on immigration on the county level is nothing more than grandstanding and political performance. Chairperson Perogues clearly understands the grandstanding nature of the proposal by refusing to break the tie vote regarding immigration. If county board members wish others to know their views on immigration, they are free to do so. However, board members' time and effort should not be wasted on political posturing on immigration when they should be working on the challenges facing the county that are in no small part due to Mr. Lawson's poor, arrogant leadership as previous county board chair. And in the event Mr. Lawson needs the definition of arrogant, a term he likes to use, here it is: having or displaying a sense of overbearing self-worth or self-importance. You are welcome to make your views known, Mr. Lawson, but stop the political grandstanding. It is insulting to the residents of Kane County. And that was from Paul Setz, Sleepy Hollow, editorial in Daily Herald.
Kathy Flesberg.
Hello, good morning. Before you start my time, I want to clear up yesterday about the website, the agendas and minutes and everything. I understand that my issue was with Legistar, which is where I was brought to when I was looking up. I've only been coming to the meetings for 3 months. So if you're going to let Legistar, because Legistar has all incorrect information. I mean, the minutes for the February meeting of this is from the public judicial from last year. So the information on Legistar is totally all wrong. So if that's going to be available to the public, maybe you should need to not let us access to that, because I didn't know that I could get the history elsewhere. I gave Savannah copies of stuff too, because the Kane County Forest Preserve now, there is a problem there. Because Kane County, the Kane County il.gov brings you to their website, and they never showed a meeting yesterday. And then on Legistar, it showed the agenda from last month. So there was no agenda for yesterday's meeting. So that's why I had made the comment about their voting. So I think it's, and I use that as an example because they have more meetings than anybody. So that's who I was clicking on. I didn't know that they were separate from you. I understand they are now from Savannah. So I apologize, but maybe cut us off of Legistar so that somebody else doesn't what happened to me. And then I could have saved your time. Okay, now you can start my time. Okay, What I wanted to talk about is one thing that I think that should be talked about at these meetings is the illegals. I mean, they're here. We know they are. We see the train loads, we see the bus loads. We see them when you shop in Walmart, Costco, Sam's. Let's discuss where the finances are coming from. I mean, we know that I just would rather that everything's transparent. Let us know how our tax dollars are being used. It's very aggravating as a taxpayer to know our money is being used for the buses, trains, housing, food, medical, schooling, but nobody talks about the elephant in the room. Why? It doesn't make sense to me. And it's just all about transparency. That's the only reason I've started coming to the meetings was because of the illegals. And now I'm at all of the meetings and I don't want to come anymore. So just let us know what's going on. And I'm sure you don't want me here because I talk all the time. I mean, I want to know where my tax dollars are being used, and I want them to be used on the community that we pay our taxes to. And honestly, yeah, to think that the large property tax increases that are coming this year is going to the illegals, it's just bothering me. I feel we're in a disastrous mess, and I just feel that if we were addressed and told what was going on, it would clear things. Maybe it would clear up misinformation that we have because we don't have any information. As far as the 1%, what's it really going to be used for? If it's used for public safety, I'd rather see the individual increases coming from all the individual police departments, the sheriff's department. That way I would know that the money is going towards public safety. That's why I feel like it's going to be used for other things, just like it happens all the time. And that's basically, oh, and you're going to lose people. If you put it on the 1%, you're going to lose a lot of people to McHenry, DuPage. They're going to go shopping elsewhere, just like when Cook County did the increase, Woodfield Mall lost a lot of shoppers. Thank you.
Anderson.
Good morning, Brian Anderson, Sugar Grove, Illinois. So I should have signed up to speak on agenda. It's on Resolution O, which is the very last item. I did decide at the last minute to speak on non-agenda. And then just sitting here listening, I've decided to go back and take my 3 minutes and speak on the special retail tax. Let's just talk about that for a minute. In Kane County, the largest recipient of that specialty retail tax, so many people probably wouldn't know this, the Farnsworth Outlet Mall between Orlando and the Farnsworth Outlet Mall teeter between, I don't know, number 1 and number 2 as far as the busiest outlet malls in the United States, okay? That's where that specialty retail tax money would come from, also the casinos. Here's my point. 2024, retail is down, missing expectations. If you pay attention to the United States, retailers are closing. Dollar stores, 400, 600, 900 store locations are closing. Close to home, 1927, Oberweis, they're closing. They're laying off 129 workers. Our fine citizen here was clamoring about how we don't want to, cut costs. Listen, my father worked for the federal government his entire life. Mr. Berman, go ahead. You can pay attention. Thank you. My son-in-law works for the federal government as well. Guess what you never have in the federal government? Ever. Layoffs. The private sector experiences it on a regular basis. That is a bottom line fact. Interesting. We can't control what goes on in Washington, D.C. We can't control what goes on in Springfield. Here, locally, at the municipality level, we're counting on you to make those tough decisions. Originally, I was thinking, do I have a real problem with the 1% specialty retail tax? And truth be told, and I don't want to single out an individual, quite frankly, and it's where I left off at the last board meeting, what my mentor told me at the age of 24. I spent 19 years working with him. Brian, it's never about how much you make, it's how much you spend. I have no confidence in fiscal responsibility with the board. You get in $60 million, I'm not sure you're going to use that money fiscally responsible. Now, here's my points about Illinois and government. I'm not sure if most of my fine citizens behind me know that Illinois, we pay $150 a year for a license plate sticker. For my wife and I, that's $300. The state of Florida, it's $22. And oh, by the way, their GDP is 1.4 trillion. So again, it goes back to my point. It's not about how much you make, it's how much you spend. We need to have fiscal responsibility in Kane County. Thank you, Mr. Berman.
Did I have the wish to speak? Is there someone who was overlooked? Thank you for being here. Moving on. Treasury report, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I know that you have a busy agenda, so I'd like to just focus on three quick descriptions of major reforms, improvements that our staff is working on in the Treasury Department. Blair, could you put up page 8? Thank you very much. Just wanted to emphasize this chart and another chart, and then just a suggestion for your consideration. Number one, this is a chart that synthesizes what's happening with your investment that you entrust to the Treasury staff. You know that projected last year in the budget was about $1.8 million. That's the red line. I think that as political people, we ought to make promises and then keep those promises to people who hire us to do their public work. And so I promise that if you elect me, I'm going to put $2 million more into the Treasury. And as one person on the committee has pointed out before, heavy lifting on this was done by the Federal Reserve in increasing interest rates, so not a big stretch. So, but that was the yellow or gold line. That was about $3.8 million. The actual performance in fiscal year 2023 was that 15.9 million. If I've got that, if I can see that far, 16.9 million, so $17 million rather than the 2 million anticipated. So an increase of $15 million. Now the blue, that was last year's performance. What this chart informs the people on this committee and board members and the public every month is what it is that we've collected in that month in interest. And so as you can see in this fiscal year, December, the first month with December was 1.566 along the top line, the blue columns. And then most recently in March for this report, approximately 1.4 million. We're on a pace ahead of last year. Now, I don't anticipate that that's going to continue, but some of the, because we've projected $12 to $15 million for this fiscal year. So just wanted to outline, that's really good news. I mean, if someone wins the lottery and they win $1 million, it's a big celebration. And, I appreciate that. And here in Kane County, we're winning the lottery every month, plus half more. So about $1.5 million. So Blair, could you put up the next slide, please? So I know that this, you can see it better either on the reports that come out each month, but this basically it's something this is a chart that's been prepared for, 20 years here. The reason why I call attention to it today, and it's along the lines of the lady who spoke very eloquently about her concern about the change from First American Bank over to Chase Bank. You see the Carolina blue line that really ticked up dramatically. I believe that and our experts believe that is visible evidence that the move that the county board made and the treasury made in changing banks was very important, very good, very healthy. That's basically our on-demand deposits, the earnings or the interest rates on those. To give history, just to illustrate the importance of taking action in this area, the Kane County Chronicle did the report, just as the gentle lady said as she came to the podium. They said that Kane County was fired by the First American Bank. And she had never heard of that before, a bank firing a customer. Now, it does happen, but it sure didn't happen in this circumstance. Where this all started was that I had a conversation with our bank representative, and a couple of the specialists came in for a very polite meeting. There were witnesses, my gosh. But one of the things that we discussed was that in 15, 20 years, we had never done a request for proposal. We had never tested the relationship. And so, something that I'm considering First American Bank is that we're going to take a look at that. And the next thing is, sure enough, the letter comes from someone who I had never met a couple of levels up in the organization. And that letter was sent not only to me, but also to the chairman. And then the chairman's office, according to the time and date stamp on that letter, was sent over to the reporter at the Kane County Chronicle. Kane County Chronicle has admitted, the lady who made those reports has admitted that she is not competent in the area. For instance, in my case and in the case this morning, I would never give my opinion on any medical issue. I'm finance, I'm not medical, so I don't, go outside of what I've been trained and what I've been serving people for now 50 years in taking care of money for them. So we went through the RFP process, and thanks to the chairman and the vice chairman and some experts, including the treasurer of DuPage County, we made the selection. And now we have the best in class, literally proven by results, not by anybody's opinion, but Chase Bank has 650 plus county governments. They have 7 of the largest 10 county governments in the nation. They do the banking for, the operating banking for. They have 1,800 clients. They are best in class, and they're producing $650,000 more per year for Kane County constituents. Visible evidence of that, this chart, the Carolina blue line, that is dramatically up since we've made that change. Naturally, you can imagine I would take offense at a headline that screams sensationally, bank fires Kane County. By the way, do you know who at least one of the Kane County Chronicle's banks is? You guessed it, First American Bank. So I always wondered why do they take such a key interest? First American Bank is now doing their work for other clients. They're not here. We're all still here. I would submit, fired whom? So finally, the last reform that we're putting in place is cash forecasting. As things get tighter and tighter, we need expertise in that area, and we're implementing that. I should have a report in a week or so of tightening up the oversight from the Treasury Department on the banking relationships as far as the short-term investments that we make with our money. Finally, the suggestion, and I don't know all the facts around this, but Each month, Kane County constituents send out $141,000 on debt service for the Long Meadow Parkway. You know, I applaud all the work that has gone into the state funding for that Long Meadow Parkway so that it's not a toll bridge. The sooner we get that implemented, we get that money in, the sooner we can stop sending out those $140,000 checks per month. So if there's anything that if you were to ask me, well, what would you prioritize, Chris, if this were your own money? I would say, well, I want to stop the pain of paying $141,000 a month because we know it's coming. Sooner it gets here, sooner we get to save the money. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions? Are there any questions of our speakers this morning? Moving on. Auditor's report, Ms. Wegman.
Good morning. My report is on file and I can address any questions that someone might have.
Questions of our auditor? Next is a resolution approving the March 2024 claims paid, $9,444,576.09. Do we have motion to approve? Do we have motion to approve?
Truby moves.
Hubie moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby. Juby, aye. Lewis. Sanchez.
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe.
Steffi, yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
Very good. Thank you. Next report. Ms. Hopkinson.
Hello. I'm going to quickly go through the monthly finance reports that I can go to the slide deck. I'll just highlight if can go to the next page on some of our tax revenues. Some of our tax revenues are performing under budget. So our state income tax.
I'm just listening and I'm not sending meetings.
At our fiscal 2024 chart, our state income tax, personal property replacement tax, and state motor fuel tax revenues are performing under budget. Our local use tax revenue and our PPRT revenue are performing under last year at this time. And I think if you can skip probably about 5 slides to the total salaries slide. There we go. This is our running history trend analysis of all the departments in the county for all funds. So the general fund and all of the special revenue funds combined. So you can see salaries. The trend where we are right now, our forecast for 2024 is that based on expenses to date, we would end up with about $92 million in salaries as compared to 2023, which is about 90 million. I will point out that in our general fund alone, total expenses, this is salary and other expenses, so contractual services, commodities, et cetera. Our general fund expenses right now in 2024 are actually running a little under. They're at 41 million compared to last year at this time, they were 43 million. We want to skip ahead 2 pages just on a report. I want to highlight a few things with the 2025 budget process. The 2025 budget process is underway. We're working with all the departments who are submitting their mission and outcomes forms. Thank you to all of those. Most everybody has submitted theirs. There's a few departments that we're still waiting for. And I also want to thank all the departments for their patience as we roll out some new technology improvements that are hopefully going to save hundreds of hours in the budget process in the finance department end. And also want to thank everybody in finance and payroll. We've been working months on this to put in some of these new technologies. So Amy, Juliet, Bernadette, Chris, Nikki, Patsy, Nina, Christine. We've been working really hard. Technology improvements are great, but it takes a long time to get there. And the hardest part is, everyone always says, well, we don't have time to do it now. We don't have time to do it now. And sometimes you have to do it now, and it's extra work, but when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's a great thing. So thank you for everybody and their patience on that. Next 2 pages, I want to just highlight what our purchasing department has been working on. One more page. I'll just pull out one item in here. Purchasing cooperatives. We've done a lot of work over the last several months in the purchasing department, trying to do a better job of communicating to all the departments and offices across the county the availability of purchasing cooperatives, and then how to structure a resolution to accurately describe how you're buying off of a purchasing cooperative. And we've been working closely with our state's attorney staff. I want to thank them very much. And we put out some best practice templates for the county departments and offices to use, and a nice memo. And Karen and Tony and Tim in purchasing have been working really hard on sort of cleaning up the communication and streamlining everything related to purchasing cooperatives. Okay. Now we can move to the slide deck. One more page. There should be the PowerPoint slides. They're part of this packet. They're probably pages. Yeah. There we go. Just again, because we're in the midst of the budget process, one of the things that we had talked about as we started this year's budget is that we wanted to solve the revenue side of the equation, so that we could give instructions to the county offices and departments so that they could do their job budgeting. The instructions that we received from the finance committee were that the 2025 budget could be only 3% higher than the 2024 budget, even knowing that specifically, and I'm going to be, and these are not new slides. I think everybody's seen these slides for several months now, so use the same slides. That particularly for our general fund, which is the fund that we can't balance with new revenues, but that houses most of our employees across the county. But we're targeting $125,000 budget. And one of the ways that we're going to attempt to do that is through the committees, and the board have indicated that we're going to reduce the amount of vacant positions that are allowed to be budgeted for each department based on the number of people that each department has. And I think everybody's familiar with that, and that that should assist with keeping this budget at only 3% over last year's. So next slide. Again, these are not new slides. Our forecast, if we keep doing what we're doing, even by only increasing 3%, and we do not receive any additional revenues, we just continue to receive the same revenues that we're currently getting, our general fund will essentially run out of money by the end of 2027, 2028. And the next slide is just a chart of what that looks like, because currently what we're doing, we built up our fund balance and our general fund over the COVID years because we received ARPA and CARES Act monies, and we don't have those monies anymore. So we are digging into our reserves year after year to pay our bills. Next slide. Again, just general fund. What makes up our general fund revenues? Most of it is we lump under the category of other taxes. So that's sales tax revenue, income tax revenue, personal property replacement tax revenue, those sort of tax revenues. Property taxes make up about 28% of our general fund budget. And then you can see there's a variety of other revenues that we receive. We receive a good chunk of salary reimbursements. About 7% of our general fund revenues are salary reimbursements. A lot of that is for our court services staff. We receive reimbursements from the state. Charges for services are all sorts of fees that a lot of the offices charge. That's another big section. And then you can see for our 2024 budget, 9% of our revenues that we're using to fund our expenses is our reserves, our fund balance. Next page.
Mr. Chair, just for the sake of time, is there anything different in this that we haven't seen? Could you just skip to that? Because we have a lot to do in half an
Sure.
hour. Thank
Sure.
you.
I can do that if I'll defer to the chair.
Fine, whatever.
Okay. Okay, so we can skip ahead. I would skip ahead one more slide. We were go one more, two more slides. Keep going. I'm sorry. Okay, so we were talking about all the different tax options. So the RTA transportation sales tax is about 75% of that is used to fund our transportation department. Over the years, the county, which the county board has the sole decision-making authority over how much of this RTA transportation sales tax is used by each, whether it's public safety or transportation. The board has historically decided that the bulk goes to transportation. We've talked about that in the past as an option to move some of that from transportation to the general fund. Currently, only about 10% goes to the general fund. If we go to the next slide. We've also talked about how then we would make the transportation department whole if we moved some of the transportation sales tax dollars. The county board has the authority to increase the local motor fuel tax. Currently, Kane is at 0.047 cents. DuPage is at 0.091. McHenry in last September increased theirs to 0.08. If the county increased our local motor fuel tax, that would bring in probably about $7 million. Go to the next slide. The special county retailers occupation tax, which is for discussion item today. Just some background information on some surrounding counties. This tax has to be implemented in 0.25% increments. So 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, et cetera. For example, you can't do like 0.3. It has to be 0.25%. Some surrounding county revenues, Winnebago, Kendall, Peoria, Champaign. Go to the next slide. So here are some options for funding our 2025 budget. If we just increased our general fund budget by 3%, we would need about $11 million of our fund balance to balance that budget. If we increase property tax revenue to the CPI at 3.4%, that would bring in approximately 1.9 million. We could increase the local option motor fuel tax. We could move some of the RTA transportation sales tax over. And then also the special county retailers occupation tax is something that is not under the board control. The board would have to, well, the board has the control over putting it on the ballot. The discussions that we've had is that this tax can only be used for one of 5 purposes. It can be used for public safety, mental health, substance abuse, public facility development, or transportation. So if the county put the tax in for public safety, the county can only use it for public safety. We couldn't use it for transportation. We could only use it for public safety. And that decision is up to the county. The discussions over the years have been that it would be for public safety, since that's the largest part of our general fund budget is public safety. Just skip ahead. Keep one more slide. Just an example. So if a 1% tax were imposed, a consumer would pay an additional 1 cent in sales tax for every dollar of tangible personal property
bought at retail. If you take that all the way up to $1, so an additional $1 in sales tax for every $100 of tangible personal property bought at retail. If Kane County put in a tax like that for 1%, it could potentially bring in $60 million a year. Next slide. I believe that the board was emailed a chart a week or two ago, a grid from the Illinois Department of Revenue, which is on their website, of items that are taxed, not taxed, exempt from tax. These are just a few of the, what I would call the most notable items. So key items that wouldn't be taxed by a special county retailer's occupation tax would include groceries, medical equipment, and pharmaceuticals. Key items that would be taxed would include gasoline, and this is a common question, diapers, both infant and adult. Next page, some additional background information. These are all of our some of our surrounding counties, and then some more in central Illinois that have had this tax. And this is the most recent information that I could get from their audited financial statements of how much tax revenue they are bringing in with this tax, and then how are they using it. And you can see some are using it for public safety. Some issued the tax for transportation, and McHenry County just last month, the voters adopted a 0.25% for mental health. Next page. This is just the letter that we received from the Illinois Department of Revenue confirming our estimate based on their information that they have about our sales that occur in King County, of how much we could potentially bring in. And next page, this is just a list of all the counties across the state that currently have a special county retailer's occupation tax for a variety of uses. And I think that is the end of my presentation.
Very good.
Any questions? Okay.
Any questions of Ms. Hopkinson? Thank you very much.
I have a comment. If we take a look at the graph was put together of using the reserve funds and knowing what it's going to be dropping off in 26 and then into 27. Is that better? Here, sound was not close enough. Taking a look at the graph of the use of reserve funds and seeing how we drop off into a deficit in 26 and then going into 27. About $18 million in deficit. If it is something to consider as another option, that we start taking a look at, and it's a dire option, but an option nonetheless, and a fiscally responsible one. If there's not revenue coming in to meet those needs of the $18 million, then we have to take a look as a board, a very hard thing, and how to very gently, and it's not soft, but solidly reduce expenses by $18 million. And perhaps up to 25, that would be the response. So if we don't raise revenue and we keep everything exactly as it is, I think what Ms. Hopkinson is sharing with us and other CFOs have shared with us as well, is that that is our other option. And that is probably the most challenging because we want to maintain our services and the quality of the work that we do here at Kane County. But it would certainly have to be with less resources. So either it's a very difficult challenge to do. And Mr. Laws, and I applaud you. Thank you for sharing with us that your investments and thanks to the Treasury and interest what it is, I certainly appreciate the increase in interest that you're able to earn. It's been very helpful. Thank you. But unless our investments can come up with another 25 million, I don't know what we're going to do because there is a deficit. So that's just my thought.
Madam Chair, is it your suggestion then that we start studying the effect of reduction in Consensus?
I think that if it's the will of the board of this committee, I think that may be a prudent approach.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments at this point? Moving on, new business. A resolution authorizing fiscal year 24 judicial courts budget adjustment of $54,530 with an addendum of $49,970. Do we have a motion to approve?
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Lewis seconds.
Lewis second. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Juby,
Aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman abstains. I have a relative in the county court system.
Passes.
Contracts and purchases. Item A, a resolution authorizing renewal of workforce development service agreement for program year 2024, $850,000, and it's federal funds.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Lewis seconds.
Lewis, discussion? Roll call, please.
Shuby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Passes.
Item B is a resolution authorizing a contract for the Kane County Judicial Center exterior lighting project with Fitzgerald Electric Contracting Incorporated and the Building Management Department, bid number 24-020-TK for $2,511,434.
Lewis moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez seconds. And also, there's a contingency in $251,000 for a total of $762,573. We have a motion. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Shuby, aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. Item C is a resolution authorizing contract for credit card and electronic payment services at the Kane County Animal Control Department.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Pepe,
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Shuby, aye.
Lewis, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. D is a resolution authorizing a contract with Brandt Excavating Incorporated for the construction of the Ogden Gardens Water Service Project, $970,000.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moved.
Shuby seconds.
Dewey second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Shuby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. E is a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds for documents and records management with a Laserfish through Omnia Partners contract number 01-158 for $150,000.
Lewis moves.
Lewis,
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez, discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Shuby, aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. F is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a renewal license for the Gray Key Digital Forensic program by the King County Sheriff's Office, $33,105.
Sanchez
Leonard
moves.
Leonard, Sanchez, discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Shuby, aye.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. G is a resolution authorizing the Health Department purchase of mosquito larvicide, $44,035.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez,
Second.
Lewis, discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, in conversation with Executive Director Isaacson of the Health Department, there is an amended resolution that has been handed out digitally and in paper to all committee members. So I'd like to move to amend this resolution to reflect what is in this new version.
Lewis
And-
will second that.
And Executive Director Isaacson is here if there are any questions.
We all have a copy of that and shows the correction and whatever. Is there any questions? Ms. Juby?
I don't understand why all these changes were being made. I don't even understand why it got pulled the first time. So, I mean, we're kind of in mosquito season, so let's kill the West Nile bugs, but
Yes.
Mr. Isaacson.
Good morning, Director Isaacson, and I'm all for killing mosquitoes. So in consultation with the purchasing department, and the finance department, adding a few of the additional whereas clauses more clearly show that we're purchasing this larvicide under a state contract, so it doesn't change anything materially that we'll be doing. Timeline wise, we are okay. So when this goes to committee in May, we'll make the purchase that day, assuming that the board passes it. And we'll be able to get out there and get killing mosquitoes. So this is just kind of cleaning up the language.
okay, so I have a follow-up question then. So are we going to be, and this is not to you, because it obviously this affects all the resolutions going forward. Are we going to now have to have that referenced in all of our resolutions? I thought these all went through the state's attorney's office, so I don't understand why we had to have all this new stuff. John?
I am unaware of why whereases would be needed to comply with the state contract, but no one ran that by me.
Okay. Will this be our new thing going forward then? Like, why are we doing this?
On this one, the reference in the resolution did not indicate that it was being bought off of a state contract.
Does it have to?
Well, it was unclear for the board in terms of what purchasing process was followed.
So I've done this wrong for a year and 3 months?
No, we're just trying to clean up the language in terms of the disclosure of how the purchase occurred in the resolutions.
Oh, okay, seems like unnecessary to me, but okay.
Any other comments, questions? We ready to vote
On the amendment?
on the amendment to the resolution?
Juby?
Juby, aye.
Lewis? Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Tepe?
Epi, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Herman, yes. Now we have call for a vote on the resolution itself as amended. Any discussion on that? I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Juby?
Juby, aye.
Lewis? Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Tepe?
Epi, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes. Okay, under other. Item A, an ordinance amending the schedule of fees for animal control services.
Leonard moves. Thought we already covered.
Lewis seconds.
Lewis, second discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Julie.
So when it left public health, we were told that the low-cost euthanasia would be struck from the resolution, and yet here it is.
Remove it.
Well, we did remove it and now it's here, so we need to remove it again?
Mistake, but let's remove it.
Okay,
So we need to amend.
Mr.
it.
we
Chair,
need to amend it.
I'd like to amend the resolution, removing the low-cost euthanasia line item.
You have a second?
Well,
Second.
point of order, is that not a Scrivener's error? Do we need an amendment?
It's
It's not a Scribner's.
a Scrivener's error.
That's not a Scribner's.
As
What-
I
It's
understand,
removed,
Shepro, as I understand, is that the committee flow was it was from public health here, or was it simultaneously put on both agendas?
It was from public health to here, and at public health, it was amended to remove the item Ms. Juby mentioned. So that's why I'm
But
questioning.
yeah,
if
I
it's just
think
a
that
Scrivener's
would
error.
make it a Scrivener's error.
It's not, it's
But
not.
if you could do the amendment by a voice vote anyway, and I would suggest you do that.
I think we should amend it.
Yeah.
We have an amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. And then the original ordinance amending the schedule of fees. We can have a voice vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Oh, no, this is now on forwarding the ordinance as
All right.
amended.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. On items B through I, which are procurement card, I will read each of the resolutions, and at the end, I'd like a motion to approve all of them together. So B is a resolution authorizing annual review of number of procurement cards issued to the Kane County Judiciary and each of their transaction limits. C is a resolution acknowledging annual review of number of procurement cards issued to the court services and each of their transaction limits. D is a resolution authorizing number of procurement cards issued to the Kane County Division of Transportation and the transaction limits thereof. E is a resolution authorizing number of procurement cards issued to Kane County Emergency Communications and each of their transaction limits. F is a resolution authorizing number of procurement cards issued to the Geographic Information System, GIS Division of the Information Technology Department, each of their transaction limits. G is a resolution acknowledging annual review of number of procurement cards issued to Circuit Clerk's Office and each of their transaction limits. H is a resolution on acknowledging annual review of number of procurement cards issued to the Kane County State's Attorney's Office and each of their transaction limits. And I is a resolution acknowledging annual review of number of procurement cards issued to the County Board Office and each of their transaction limits. Entertain a motion to approve.
Leonard moves.
Sanchez,
Be
second.
Sanchez, second. Discussion?
You could do a voice vote on this because you're simply acknowledging that they've occurred.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. Item J, a resolution authorizing revision to the Kane County Department purchasing policies.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves. A second. Kathy, is there any explanation of this? Any?
Just to get our policies in line with the King County purchasing ordinance, our purchasing ordinance requires everything over 10 to have some sort of solicitation effort. And the best way to document that and to manage that and track it is through a purchase order. And some departments put purchase orders in and some don't. And this will just ensure that everyone's following the purchasing ordinance.
From an accounting standpoint, this is the best way to handle it.
Yes.
We have a motion. We had a motion.
Yes.
Roll call.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. K is a resolution authorizing revision of the Kane County Accounting, Auditing, and Financial Reporting Policy.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Lewis seconds.
Lewis, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Lewis,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. L is a resolution establishing the Transfer of American Rescue Plan Act grant staff management and functions from the County Board Office to the Finance Department.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Juby, seconds.
Give me second. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sanchez.
Just a couple of things. Still kind of working out a few of the details with finance. We're going to be meeting with them soon to go over what this transfer will actually look like. But I think the main thing for me is I didn't catch this at Human Services, but this isn't scheduled to go to the American Rescue Plan Committee. And this is something that definitely should go through that at some point. So I would like to move to send this to the American Rescue Plan Committee, the May meeting, which I believe is on May. Sorry, I should have looked that up first. May 22nd. May 22nd, I believe, or the May meeting of ARPA, whichever one it is. And ask for a second.
I'll second that. Leonard seconds.
So we have a motion to
Send to.
move that until
Move it to ARPA in
Okay.
May.
You could do a voice vote on that.
voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Now vote on the resolution itself as amended.
No, it's been sent away.
All right. Item M. A resolution adopting the sick leave donation policy for the Personnel Policy Handbook.
Juby moves.
Juby moves.
Lewis seconds.
Lewis second. Discussion.
I would just like to make a comment.
Ms.
Um,
Julie?
I would like to thank all the people who put this forward and are supporting it. I think it's something that we can offer to our employees, and I think it makes us a valuable place to work. So thank you.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Pepe,
Deputy, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. And there's a resolution supporting state legislation authorizing counties to lease buildings and land.
Juby moves.
Juby moves.
Leonard seconds.
Leonard seconds. Do we have discussion?
I have many questions.
Ms. Juby?
All right. First of all, I don't understand why this came in through finance and not legislation. Because we just saw that things should be working through the committee structure. I also want to know, is this legislation already written? Because if it's not written, I don't ever support legislation that's not written. That's devil's in the details. And have we engaged our lobbyist if we haven't gotten legislation on this? And what exactly land and buildings are we seeking to lease?
I do not have the answers to that. Madam Chair?
Thank you very much. There has been an opportunity presented for the potential lease of land that Kane County currently owns. We are unable to do so right now because the purpose, even though it would be interpreted as part of the public good, for public use, we want to make sure that it is inclusive to include the word entertainment. And what does entertainment mean? It does not mean gambling. It means being able to have a concert, to be able to have a opportunity to see a soccer team or a baseball team play. So that's inclusive of entertainment, sports entertainment, as well as, I said, musical entertainment as well, or an art show. Because the restriction that is put forth, an interpretation of what public good is, we don't want to change, include new legislation. It's just an addendum, change of language to current legislation that is being currently proposed, that is being written. It was asked by State Senator Rachel Ventura that we approve this through the county board because it's going through right now. And yes, indeed, ma'am, we are using our lobbyist.
Okay, so what is this for? I mean, you're talking about opportunities. This is the first I'm hearing of these opportunities. I don't know what piece of property we're talking about. If it's a building, I don't know anything about it.
The opportunities are not yet public. I cannot present them to you, but I can talk to you about it privately.
So I'm being asked to vote on something as a
Yes.
board member,
But this
and
is
I have
also-
no idea what it is.
If I may interrupt you, this is also ISACO sponsored. So this was coming through the impact of this potential legislation is for 101 counties, not specifically just for Kane County.
Okay. Stand by this should go through legislation, and I stand by if I don't have information on what I'm voting on, I will always be a no.
Well, I can appreciate your concern, but
It's not just concern,
Oh,
it's
no,
my
no,
fiduciary duty to
yes,
keep.
Ms. Chuby, I am not arguing.
What else are you doing with me? I'm asking you, please. I can't have a conversation with people in the board if you guys are whooping and hollering. So, you're asking me to support something, you're telling me I can't do it, and then you're telling me it's because it's bigger than just this county. And when am I supposed to have does anybody else on this board who's sitting in this room know what we're talking about?
I believe that it was.
Bill, you know what we're talking about?
Yes.
Why do you know what we're talking about, Bill?
Ms.
I'm
Chu-
talking to Bill. Bill, why do you know why do you know what we're talking
I
about?
think you need to speak.
Out of
I think
order.
you're out of order right now.
Mr. Berman, can you
You're out of
ask,
order.
can you ask Mr. Roth why he has information that the rest of us sitting on the finance committee do not have?
Mr. Roth?
Legally, it's not facts, it's hearsay. So, and I don't want to say publicly because it would be something that should be in closed session.
Well,
Would you like to go into closed session right now?
I don't know that this is a closed session matter.
I agree with Ms. Juby. It should go to legislation.
If the only concern, and I'm more, that is totally fine. The only concern is that unless I would welcome Ms. Gums to call a meeting of the legislative committee before the state legislator is completed with its work, because this is of due diligence. And it is important that this opportunity may come through. This is not the final, it's a courtesy to get this done. It's not mandatory.
I'm sorry, Mr. Berman.
Yes.
I don't understand. Could you explain why this is a courtesy to get this done? Because I'm not allowed to address the people that are speaking. I have to address you.
Ask Corinne.
Corinne, I don't.
As a courtesy, this was requested by a single state senator, Senator Rachel Ventura, and she has requested that this occur. So as a courtesy to her request, because she is the sponsor of this potential bill, we're moving forward with this. The bill that has been sponsored by ISACO, and I serve on that board, and I believe that this was also passed through, and my understanding is through the legislative committee, which I believe Ms. Gums also sits on, was approved. Because I was advocating for ISACO and I spoke to Rachel Ventura, she asked if we could do this so that Kane County can also show support of this. So that is why I have brought it forward, because they are on holiday this week, the Senate. They will be coming back next week. They have paused the approval of this bill to move this forward next week. So if we're going to go through legislative, we'd have had to wait, and it may have been too late. So that is why.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Leonard.
Yes, I would like to ask that we move it to legislative. I don't really know everything about what's being proposed here. I don't even have a good definition of entertainment. So I will be voting no on it if we proceed with it. I would prefer that we go to legislative, get a full vetting of what this entails, and then once informed, I can vote on it. That's a motion.
I second.
We have a motion second to send it to legislative.
Mr. Chair Gums.
Come.
Thank you, sir. I'm not on this committee, but if I'm allowed
Yes, you can
so
speak.
thank you. I appreciate the back and forth conversation here. I will let you know that the legislative committee has no idea what this is about. I do sit on ISACO's legislative committee that met yesterday at 2 p.m. and I was also in a forest preserve meeting during that time. If we need legislation that you say is time sensitive, then we need to make sure that happens properly. And as I understand it, this amendment is attached to a bill that will not be supported if the amendment is proposed for that particular bill because of the word entertainment. That's what was expressed to me from the legislators. So what we need to have accomplished here is we need everybody to, one, know what's happening, because nobody knows what's happening. And two, how do we make that happen? And we got to go through the legislative committee. I mean, it's very nuanced down there. You're well aware of that. So when we do things outside of turn, there are individuals that you said that the representative asked you to get approval from the board. My question to you is, the board doesn't know what properties or what opportunities we're even talking about. And I can appreciate that there are certain things that can't be discussed in open session, but the board needs to know what's happening so that we can make those things come to fruition and grow us like we're supposed to. But if I don't know what's happening and our team doesn't know what's happening, we cannot get those things done. So I implore anybody who has ideas or legislative changes or anything to bring it to the people that actually vote. all too often I'm finding that things are going to our department directors, our staff, and the board has no idea what's going on, and that is not appropriate. So if we want to make things happen, and I'm just saying as a practical matter, we have to have the information so that we can get those things accomplished. And I'm glad to make those things happen, but I don't know what's going on. And if that is the case, I can't make anything happen.
If I may, Mr. Berman, just, and then I won't say anything else. I appreciate that, Ms. Gomes, I do. Ms. Juby, I appreciate your concerns. I was asked to not make this public, but it came through last Friday that it has moved forward to the point where this can be talked about within the board. Meanwhile, this resolution was up. So I look forward to having that discussion with everybody so that we can. There's sometimes you have to obey what is requested of you. So that is the reason why.
I guess a follow-up question, Mr. Berman, if I may.
Yes.
Is when we say that we were told not to bring this up, who is they? Who told us not to bring this up to the board that votes? And I can appreciate there's a lot of things that we can't talk about in open session. I get that. There are statutory reasons why we can't do that. But if somebody is suggesting that you keep something from this board, that is inappropriate.
All right, Mr. Roth.
Mr. Sanchez is on the committee and he has his hands raised first.
All right, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have similar reservations about this. I'm not the most comfortable with the idea of the chairman of the board going to Springfield to try and make things happen. But being that can happen, I do think that I would like to see us utilize our lobbyists. So if the chairman or somebody else is representing the board down there without our knowledge, they're at least linking back to our lobbyist and saying, hey, here's the information that I've come across. Here's the conversations that I've had and with whom. Here are the things that we discussed. Can you please follow up and make sure that I'm seeing this correctly? And that way our team knows what's happening, can bring it back to us. So when we have something like this to vote on, we are informed. We know there is a process that was followed and we don't have singular members of the board or the chairman going to Springfield to represent all of us. And we don't know what that conversation looks like. You know, lobbyists are trained to know how to talk to legislators. They know how to get things done more so than just us elected officials. So I would like to see a little more of that inclusion of the process for anybody that's representing us in Springfield, because again, this is a professional relationship that we have with them. They don't have to do our bidding. We don't have to do theirs. And so essentially when we want to ask them to do something, we want to have a very strong process in place and lean on our lobbyists. That's the point of the tip of the pencil. You know, anything that comes out of Kane County should be driven by them. I'd be much more comfortable with that. So whether this goes to legislative committee, a special committee, it's kind of irrelevant to me at this point. I'm talking more about the process. And if legislators specifically request an action like this, a resolution, a statement piece, then I'd be in favor of that. But barring that, I have no interest in creating some piece of paper that is sent to Springfield saying, here, do this. That to me, that's not the way to get things done. So those are my thoughts on this.
Mr. Roth?
I think this is a point of order. I think everything is supposed to come before the board first and not after as an afterthought. We should have those discussions before it comes to any vote. And I agree with Ms. Juby that it should be going to legislature first. The other is I question why is the resolution is versus a proclamation? I mean, just because I say so, you know, what's the point? I think it's inappropriate that this came without going through the board first.
Yes.
Yes, Shepro, State's Assistant State's Attorney.
Microphone, please.
A couple of points. First off, the motion to refer is in order and it is debatable. The debate is to be limited to the desirability of referring the question to someplace else. And it is out of order actually to debate the merits of the original motion. That's sort of a fine line to walk. As far as the method, a proclamation is a proclamation. I mean, in this particular case, I don't know if there's any substantive difference between a resolution of support and a proclamation of support. I wasn't sure I heard the answer to whether the legislation is currently drafted or is being drafted.
This is an amendment to current legislation.
But
It's an amendment to current legislation.
Mr. Leonard,
I'd like to call the vote on this movement to the legislative committee.
Just one quick question before we do that.
yes, Ms. Lewis.
So do you know the bill number? Do you know the bill number attached?
I can send that. I'll have Jane send that to you all.
That would be helpful either way.
We have a motion before us.
You called the question, doesn't that mean we have to vote?
unless there's such an objection for further discussion, you can call the vote.
There's no further discussion. A vote on the motion to send it back to legislative.
Send it to legislature.
Send it to legislative. It hasn't been there yet. All right. I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Trivia, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
It moves to legislative.
Thank you very much. Item. Oh. It's my feeling that consensus of our board is that we're not really ready to decide on whether to go for a referendum for our sales.
Chairman, I'd like
Go with
to
that.
move this.
Pardon?
I'd like to move this so that we can discuss it and take potential
I'm
action
not
on it.
going to, we're taking it off the agenda.
I believe at this point, that could only be done by a vote of the committee to essentially remove it from the agenda.
All right. Well,
That was Shepro commenting.
my amendment.
So Frank, you can do it by consensus or however you want to do it. If you want to make a motion to take it off, but because it's on the agenda, the chair does not have the authority unto himself to take it off.
Do we have a consensus that we remove it from the agenda?
Yes.
What was that? Sorry, I was having a sidebar conversation.
All right. Well, my feelings
Is there
are that we
consensus?
need
No,
to.
I don't agree. I think we should discuss it today.
Pardon?
I think we should discuss it today. I don't think we should remove it from the agenda. So we don't have complete unanimous consent at the very least.
Don't need
And
it.
you'd have to have a motion and a vote.
Then this, we will make a motion that we remove it.
Leonard will second.
Discussion of this.
Are we removing it to have, when are we going to be having further discussion on this?
Tabling it
I am
indefinitely.
going to propose a ad hoc committee
Okay,
that would study it. I don't think we're ready for the decision by the finance committee or by the county board as to whether we should go ahead with it. I think there's a lot of answers that need to be made. I think there's a lot of planning that needs to be done that we haven't done. And I don't think we're at that point where we can move ahead with it for November.
okay, so to clarify, we are going to be discussing it, we're going to be
Well-
discussing it through a different venue than
Right.
this particular committee. Okay, thank
I am
you.
asking, I will be asking for an ad hoc committee to be approved. So we vote on the motion.
Yeah.
To withdraw it from the. We have roll call, please.
To remove it, okay, so Juby,
Trivia,
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman.
Berman, yes. All right, thank you very much. I have, my feelings are that we need to do more. And because of that, I would like to get approval for an ad hoc committee that I would like Mr. Leonard, Ms. Juby, Ms. Lewis, Mr. Kenyon to be appointed to this ad hoc committee to study our requirements and the plans for a referendum.
I would like to request to be on that ad hoc committee as well.
But Sanchez? All right.
The whole committee.
And this, Mr. Roth would
Mr.
request.
Roth would like,
I would like to request to be on that ad hoc committee.
Finance Committee.
well,
It's a small committee.
It should really be finance members. primarily.
Mr. Berman, question Molina. Is your request to make an ad hoc committee of the finance committee? Then the recommendation would be no more than 4 members, but
That's a subcommittee.
otherwise, if it's a committee of Mr. Berman,
Yes.
if your recommendation is to make an ad hoc committee of the whole county board, I'd like to be on it as the chair of judicial and public safety. If your recommendation is to make a ad hoc committee of just the finance committee, then I'd request to limit it to just the members of the finance committee.
Mr.
Kenyon
Chairman,
is not a
Shepro.
member of the committee.
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sheffield.
Yeah, the county code of ordinances does not have really specific procedures for an ad hoc committee. If it's intended to be done by a motion from any committee, it would have to be an agenda item on that committee. In the past, the chairman of the board has often appointed task forces, ad hoc committees. That's sort of a different animal, but I think this committee, as has been pointed out unless this committee desires to create a special committee or a subcommittee, which is what it really would be, that would have to be an agenda item for a continued or a subsequent meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Could you-
So Mr. Shepro might understand that if we want to create this subcommittee or ad hoc committee, it would have to be on the next month's finance agenda as an action item to create it, because I would support that 100%.
Or yes, or a special meeting that was called with sufficient notice in the interim.
Well, my schedule is pretty busy. I'd rather it be,
Yeah,
I'd
well,
rather it
I'm
be on the
not-
next finance
yeah,
meeting.
I'm
Thank
not-
you.
I'm not making a suggestion. Those are just the
Those are my
available
options.
alternatives.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
thank you for recognizing me. Mavis Bates. I consider this an issue of urgent importance and timeliness. And I hope we don't have to wait a month to create the ad hoc committee.
well, I think their hands are tied.
Could I have clarification?
Yes, Ms. Lewis.
So did you say that if we want to do ad hoc, we would have to put it on next month, but if we wanted to do a subcommittee of finance, he could do that today?
No. If it came out that way, then I garble it. What I'm saying is that technically, if it's coming out of this committee, it would be a subcommittee made up of some, presumably not all, members of this committee.
Gotcha.
If it's to be an ad hoc committee, then I think it would be not appropriate to come out of this committee. It would have to come from the board or a group appointed or designated by the chair. The chair has the right to seek advice from anybody that she desires to do so. But if it is constituted as a task force, then it would be subject to the Open Meetings Act and all of the rules attendant upon that. And committees, those of you with a longer memory would remember the issue that came up when the original federal money group was created, and initially, well, I had a couple of meetings that were not proper until that was corrected. I don't know if that's clear, but I think today, if this committee wanted to further investigate the appointment of a subcommittee, which has been done in the past, then that would have to be done at a separate meeting or a continued meeting, which would then have to comply the agenda with the Open Meetings Act.
Gotcha.
So
Excuse me.
mean me?
You.
Yes.
Okay, I'm the other one, Bates here. Mr. Shepro or anybody, can you give us, or Mr. Frank, can you give us the shortest path to doing this? Could we have a special?
Continue
finance
this meeting
committee
for,
in
for a
post-
week.
If we post agenda items?
I'm going to surmise all of this down to one issue.
Yeah.
What it sounds like to me and what authority you actually have to even do is a subcommittee. The only way to do that is to put it on an agenda, give it proper due course and notice. However you do that in whatever finance committee that's set, you could set one next week, but you can't do it today.
Okay. Is ad hoc, is ad hoc different from a subcommittee then?
A subcommittee is a smaller committee of finance. An ad hoc committee is more of a side committee, kind of like the ARPA committee. It was created under the county board authority. It's not really the same thing as what you would be doing here with a subcommittee, which is simply under you all's authority, not the county board's authority.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would like you, sir, to consider if you're going to be looking at the special county retail sales tax subcommittee, that you also consider developing another subcommittee to take a look at how we are going to eliminate $25 million. And go have those work hand in hand with each other, because we have no guarantees that even if the recommendation is to move forward with a sales tax, we have no guarantees that the community of voters are going to support this. But we do have under our control right now, being able to take a look at making recommendations, very thoughtful recommendations on how we could reduce potential expenses going into the future. So if I would request that for your consideration.
And just,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree that we have to explore both those things at the same time. So even if we call it, special sales, retail sales tax committee, subcommittee, the scope of it still has to include budget cuts, because that is a part of the conversation. So I definitely agree with that.
I would think we need two committees.
It has to be the same committee. There's no reason in my mind that would be two committees. That overcomplicates things, that drags things out, creates scheduling issues. We put it all on one committee, keep it simple, keep it streamlined, and have a strategic approach. And I think we'll have the best chance for making something happen.
Mr. Chairman Tepe.
Oh, Mr. Tepe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I'd like to agree with Mr. Sanchez. I think that we need to have all of those items considered. I know in my presentation last month, I talked about other alternatives, and I think all of that should be on the table. And secondly, since we don't have the ability to appoint a committee, but Madam Chair does, why don't we ask her to appoint a committee? That way we can get things done quicker. I don't want to see something languishing. So let's move ahead with something and ask her to appoint a committee of finance committee members to look at this.
Yeah, so I agree with my colleagues that we do definitely need a committee. And I think that it needs to stay under finance. And because it's under finance, I believe that you should just appoint the committee to look at both issues together, same committee, as Mr. Sanchez suggested.
Point of order.
All right,
Jason.
Shepro, Mr. Chairman. Again, to reemphasize, I think what Mr. Frank and I have been saying is that a subcommittee under Robert's Rules of Order emanates from the committee that the subcommittee would report to. And so for this committee, you can create a subcommittee, but you can't do it today, and it can't be unilaterally appointed until you have given somebody the authority to make that appointment. And because it would be a subcommittee, it could not include members who are not members of the Finance Committee. Those are policy issues for you to grapple with. As far as setting a date,
you can call, or the chair could call a special meeting of the committee. Or you could, I think, legally set a date for a special meeting at the conclusion of today's proceedings and make sure that you got the proper items on the agenda. If you want a larger membership, then it should not be a subcommittee of this committee.
Mr. Chair, may I make a suggestion that you, as the chair of the Finance Committee, put this on the next Finance Committee agenda to talk about creating a subcommittee of the finance to discuss the potential of imposing the retail sales tax and for whatever budgetary cuts would need to be made if that didn't go through. So our plan A and our plan B. Could I suggest that we do that you put that on the next finance meeting as an agenda item to discuss and perhaps move forward?
All right,
Would be the end of May.
all right. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it. We'll put it off until the next meeting. Madam Chair.
Yes, I just have a question. So if the Finance Committee next month goes through and approves this, then it would be approved of, is that correct, at the Executive Committee level? And no, it would be, because it is a subcommittee which is
It's a
controlled by the
subcommittee
Finance
of this
Committee.
committee, which
Excellent.
there would be no further up the chain requirement.
Beautiful. And I applaud that idea very well, because this committee, Finance Committee, is charged with managing and making recommendation to the full board about the budget. So I believe it should sit here.
Very good. Any other discussion? Mr. Leonard?
Not on this topic. I'd like to discuss something else if I could.
Okay, yes.
I was not able to attend the transportation meeting last week. And at the transportation meeting, 2 resolutions were passed. On the agenda item, they were Resolution G and H. One was with SKC Construction Incorporated out of West Dundee. It was a crack sealing project that was approved for $264,663.80. The other one was Corrective Asphalt Materials LLC out of South Roxana, Illinois, in the amount of $764,463.20. And I was just wondering why these are not on the agenda for the Finance Committee at this meeting.
I don't know the answer to that.
Anybody that can give me the answer.
We've started discussions with the state's attorney's office on this several months ago because the transportation items don't ever come through the finance committee.
They never do.
I don't think they ever have.
So even on these 2, yeah, because they have their own funds. So on these 2 funds, which exceed over $1 million, doesn't need to be approved by finance.
I've asked the same question. I think it's an issue that needs to be explored.
Okay, so will you explore it or the state's attorney's office?
Yeah.
Happy to look into anything. I'm not aware that this has been brought to us at this time.
I'd like a definitive answer, one way or the other, just so we know.
Yeah.
It's a procedure that we need to define.
It's a good question.
But we're saying.
Chair, I'm sorry, I thought we were done talking about that. When we're finished talking about this, I also have something that I would like to talk about that isn't on the agenda that I'm questioning.
Yes. Julie, speak.
Okay, so I don't understand why board members' gums is what do you call them? Personal, what are they? The vouchers for, she gets paid back for being down in Springfield when she was with our lobbyists when it was cold,
Personal
personal.
expense voucher.
What is
You're
it?
talking
Personal
about-
expense vouchers, PEVs. So is there a reason
Are
why?
you talking about,
Look.
Washington?
Yeah, I just
Oh.
wondered why this wasn't on, we
Please
weren't
address
approving
the-
that.
please
I'm
address
looking
the
at
chair.
Mr. Berman.
Please, okay.
I am looking at him.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But you're,
So- I'm
you
asking.
might be looking at him, but you were.
No,
addressing
I'm talking to Mr. Berman. Thank you for telling me that for 3 times. So I just wondered why this wasn't on the finance. I thought we approved all of our reimbursements through this committee and I don't see it. Did I miss it? Is it somewhere else? Does it skip this one?
It wasn't presented to me to be on it.
I can answer that. We are approving or we're calculating the PEVs for the county board offices through the auditor's office now before they're coming through finance. So it would, provided we get all the supporting documentation, the calculations match up, it'll be on the next finance committee.
Mr. Chair, is that our policy?
I'm not just,
Could we ask the
First of
state's
all,
attorney? No, we can't ask the state's attorney?
auditor identify herself or the,
So we've been having some concerns when the PEVs have been coming straight to finance that the calculations are incorrect. And so we have not necessarily always been able to approve them in our office after the board has approved them. So we're just making sure the calculations are correct. We've implemented this since the last collection of PEVs for the county board members came through. It's just a checks and balances so that the county board has the accurate information to vote on. We're not holding it up. We're not making any decisions on whether this is an appropriate expense. We're just checking the calculations beforehand.
So Mr. Berman, does that make that a change in policy?
no, there is no policy.
So there is no
There is
policy.
no policy.
So
It's something from the auditor's office and I have the authority to ask for all the supporting documentation.
We do not have a set policy that this is the way it should follow. These steps. are
Mr.
short.
Chair. Ms. Wegman, but isn't the
Microphone.
procedure currently, pardon me?
microphone.
Isn't the procedure currently that it's approved by the board and then you review it in the past?
We're just approving calculations and supporting documentation. So previously, it would come before the board before it came to our office, but you wouldn't necessarily have the most accurate information to make your decisions. And we want to make sure that you vote for something once and not have to fix it later.
You know, I understand the logic of that. I'm just wondering, when procedure is changed, isn't that something that has to be approved by the board?
Now, when it comes to the auditor's office in this type of item, because we're just looking for supporting documentation and calculations, we're not making a judgment call on whether this is something that's going to be approved by the board or paid by the board.
So you want to do it before the fact than rather after the fact?
Absolutely, so that you have the proper information in front of you.
That makes sense. You know, I studying our ordinances and everything. There's no procedure that we have to follow. So whatever we do now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't put one together, but maybe that's a challenge we can give to our finance director.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, the statutory authority of the auditor's office would not require board approval for her to do a review.
Speak up, please. You're free. Speak up.
Oh, the statutory authority of the auditor's office under the county's code does not require authorization for the auditor to perform any review that. All right, I've been told to stop, so I'm stopped.
SEO Frank, we're not giving any opinion on substance as it relates to the interaction between the county board and the auditor. If somebody would like us to opine on that as far as a policy or process, we're happy to do that, but we're not going to do that here.
Very good. So, thank you very much. Ms. Julie?
I would like them to opine on it, please. The state's attorney's office to opine on this. I just want to know that we're following proper procedure and that people are being reimbursed for their personal expenses when they're doing business of the county. And I don't want them to have to wait a long time. I know Madam Chair leaves a lot, and I would imagine now this means all of her things are being held up as well. So I would very much like a smooth process to be discovered.
Then I think we need to put together a procedure that we would follow on a basis, rather than pick and choose what we want to happen, so.
That's fine. We can
work-
absolutely, we can work with
on it.
finance and everybody involved to make sure that we have a clear policy going forward
Yeah.
that complies with law.
Mr. Chair Gums.
Comes,
Sorry, I know it's about me, but in general, what you're suggesting is that we need a policy, which I agree with. My question would be, are all of the PEVs going to be held up until we create a policy?
no, not unless our auditor has a need. Yes,
Things are only going to be held up if the supporting documentation wasn't there to begin with. And they literally takes a day for us to review things, excuse me. So there is no hold up if there's not, if the documentation is there that would be required from our office anyway.
Mr. Chair, just on that note, I believe I haven't been asked for any further documentation. I supplied everything as far as I know, right? What am I missing?
We can talk offline, but we've had this conversation.
I didn't. I don't have any response that I am missing documentation, no. You know what? This is a policy issue. This is not a Gums issue, so.
all right. Any other discussions or come before us? Following our agenda, I have no comments.
I'd ask for unanimous consent to place reports on file.
I'm sorry. Is that, you asked for a unanimous consent? Everybody say yes. Okay. Our reports are on file by unanimous consent. No executive session necessary. Motion to adjourn.
Deputy moves.
Opposed? Affirmative second.
Can't contain a little mess, goes